4-wire feeder is required for a subpanel because it provides a separate neutral wire for the subpanel. This is necessary because the neutral wire is used as a return path for current, and if it is shared with multiple circuits, it can become overloaded and cause a fire. In a service panel, the neutral wire is typically larger than the other conductors, and it is connected to the grounding electrode system. This helps to ensure that the neutral wire is not overloaded and that it is properly grounded. In a subpanel, the neutral wire is not connected to the grounding electrode system. This means that if the neutral wire is overloaded, it can cause a fire. For these reasons, it is important to use a 4-wire feeder to supply a subpanel. Let's delve into the technical reasons behind this requirement. The key difference lies in how the neutral and grounding systems are handled in service panels versus subpanels. In a main service panel, the neutral conductor, also known as the grounded conductor, is bonded to the equipment grounding conductors and the grounding electrode system. This means that the neutral is physically connected to the metal enclosure of the panel and to the earth through grounding electrodes like ground rods or metal water pipes. This single point of bonding creates a common ground reference for the entire electrical system. The purpose of this bonding is to provide a low impedance path for fault current to return to the source, which in turn will cause the overcurrent protective device, such as a circuit breaker or fuse, to trip and energize the circuit. In a subpanel, however, the neutral conductor must be kept completely separate from the equipment grounding conductors and the subpanel enclosure. This separation is crucial for safety. If the neutral were bonded to the ground in a subpanel, it would create parallel paths for the neutral current to flow. Some of the neutral current would flow back to the service panel on the neutral conductor, as intended, but some of it would also flow back on the equipment grounding conductors. This is highly undesirable because the equipment grounding conductors are not designed to carry continuous current. They are intended to carry current only during a fault condition. When neutral current flows on the equipment grounding conductors, it can create several problems. Firstly, it can cause the metal enclosures of electrical equipment to become energized, creating a shock hazard. Anyone who touches the energized enclosure could receive an electrical shock. Secondly, it can interfere with the proper operation of sensitive electronic equipment. The flow of neutral current in the equipment grounding conductors can create electromagnetic interference that can disrupt the functioning of computers, audio equipment, and other electronic devices. Thirdly, it can mask ground faults, making it difficult to detect and clear them. If a ground fault occurs in a circuit, the fault current will flow back to the source on the equipment grounding conductors. However, if there is already neutral current flowing on the equipment grounding conductors, it may be difficult to distinguish the fault current from the normal neutral current. This can delay the tripping of the overcurrent protective device, which can increase the risk of fire or electrical shock. The National Electrical Code, or NEC, specifically requires a 4-wire feeder for subpanels to prevent these problems. The 4 wires are typically 2 hot wires, a neutral wire, and an equipment grounding wire. The 2 hot wires carry the electrical power to the subpanel. The neutral wire provides a return path for the current. The equipment grounding wire provides a path for fault current to flow back to the source. The equipment grounding wire must be connected to the metal enclosure of the subpanel and to the equipment grounding conductors in the circuits that are fed from the subpanel. This ensures that any fault current will flow back to the source on the equipment grounding conductors, causing the overcurrent protective device to trip. The size of the conductors used for the 4-wire feeder must be properly sized to carry the anticipated load. The NEC provides tables that specify the minimum conductor size based on the ampacity of the circuit. It is important to consult these tables to ensure that the conductors are adequately sized. The neutral conductor must be sized to carry the maximum unbalanced load. The unbalanced load is the difference between the current flowing on the 2 hot wires. In a single-phase system, the neutral conductor must be sized to carry at least the maximum unbalanced load. In a 3-phase system, the neutral conductor must be sized to carry at least the square root of 3 times the maximum unbalanced load. The equipment grounding conductor must be sized according to NEC Table 250.122. The size of the equipment grounding conductor is based on the size of the overcurrent protective device protecting the circuit. It is important to note that the equipment grounding conductor must be continuous and unbroken from the subpanel back to the service panel. Any splices or connections in the equipment grounding conductor must be made using approved methods. In addition to the 4 wires, a grounding electrode conductor must also be run from the subpanel to a grounding electrode, such as a ground rod or metal water pipe. This grounding electrode conductor is used to connect the subpanel to the earth. The purpose of the grounding electrode is to provide a low impedance path for fault current to flow to the earth. This helps to ensure that the overcurrent protected device will trip quickly in the event of a ground fault. The size of the grounding electrode conductor is based on the size of the service entrance conductors. The NEC provides tables that specify the minimum size of the grounding electrode conductor. It is important to consult these tables to ensure that the grounding electrode conductor is adequately sized. The grounding electrode conductor must be connected to the grounding electrode using approved methods. The connection must be made in a way that ensures a reliable electrical connection. In summary, a 4-wire feeder is required for a subpanel to provide a separate neutral wire and an equipment grounding wire. This prevents neutral current from flowing on the equipment grounding conductors, which can create a shock hazard and interfere with the proper operation of electrical equipment. 4 wires must be properly sized and installed according to the NEC. A grounding electrode conductor must also be run from the subpanel to a grounding electrode. This ensures that the subpanel is properly grounded and that fault current will flow back to the source, causing the overcurrent protective device to trip. Failing to follow these requirements can result in dangerous electrical conditions and is a violation of electrical codes. Always consult with a qualified electrician when working with electrical systems. The separation of neutral and ground in subpanels is a cornerstone of modern electrical safety practices. This evolved from earlier systems where 3-wire feeds to subpanels were sometimes permitted, particularly in older installations. However, experience and a deeper understanding of electrical fault behavior revealed the inherent risks associated with shared neutral and ground paths in subpanels. These risks include the potential for elevated voltage on equipment enclosures, increased electromagnetic interference, and reduced effectiveness of overcurrent protection. The move to 4-wire systems has significantly improved the safety and reliability of electrical installations by minimizing these risks. Furthermore, the NEC provides specific guidelines for identifying the neutral conductor. The neutral conductor must be identified by a continuous white or grey covering. This helps to ensure that the neutral conductor is easily distinguishable from the hot conductors and the equipment grounding conductor. The equipment grounding conductor must be identified by a continuous green covering or by being bare. This helps to ensure that the equipment grounding conductor is easily distinguishable from the hot conductors and the neutral conductor. It is important to follow these color coding conventions to ensure that the electrical system is properly wired and safe to operate. Improper wiring can create a shock hazard and can interfere with the proper operation of electrical equipment. The NEC also provides specific requirements for the installation of ground fault circuit interrupters, or GFCIs. GFCIs are designed to protect people from electrical shock by detecting small amounts of current leakage to ground. When a GFCI detects current leakage, it quickly trips the circuit, interrupting the flow of electricity. GFCIs are required in many locations, such as bathrooms, kitchens, and outdoor areas. It is important to install GFCIs in these locations to protect people from electrical shock. In addition to GFCIs, arc fault circuit interrupters, or FSIs, are also required in many locations. FSIs are designed to protect against electrical fires by detecting arc faults. Arc faults are dangerous electrical conditions that can occur when electrical insulation breaks down. When an FSI detects an arc fault, it quickly trips the circuit, interrupting the flow of electricity. FSIs are required in many locations, such as bedrooms and living rooms. It is important to install FSIs in these locations to protect against electrical fires. The selection of overcurrent protective devices, such as circuit breakers and fuses, is also critical for electrical safety. The overcurrent protective device must be properly sized to protect the circuit from overload and short circuit conditions. The NEC provides tables that specify the maximum size of the overcurrent protective device based on the ampacity of the conductors. It is important to consult these tables to ensure that the overcurrent protective device is adequately sized. The overcurrent protective device must also be properly rated for the voltage and current that it will be subjected to. It is important to select an overcurrent protective device that is designed for this specific application. Regular inspection and maintenance of electrical systems are also important for electrical safety. Electrical systems should be inspected regularly by a qualified electrician to identify any potential problems. Any problems that are identified should be corrected promptly. The electrical equipment should also be maintained according to the manufacturer's instructions. This includes cleaning, lubricating, and tightening connections. Proper maintenance can help to prevent electrical problems and can extend the life of electrical equipment. Finally, it is important to be aware of the potential hazards associated with electricity. Electricity can be dangerous if it is not handled properly. It is important to follow all safety precautions when working with electricity. This includes wearing appropriate personal protective equipment, such as gloves and safety glasses. It also includes de-energizing circuits before working on them. By following these safety precautions, you can help to prevent electrical accidents. In conclusion, the use of a 4-wire feeder for subpanels is a critical safety requirement. It ensures the separation of neutral and ground, preventing dangerous conditions and ensuring the proper operation of electrical equipment. Adherence to the NEC, proper installation practices, and regular maintenance are all essential for maintaining a safe and reliable electrical system. Remember, when in doubt, always consult with a qualified electrician. The concept of impedance is also crucial in understanding the effectiveness of grounding systems. Impedance is the total opposition that a circuit presents to alternating current. It includes both resistance and reactance. A low impedance ground path is essential for ensuring that fault current can quickly return to the source, causing the overcurrent protective device to trip. The equipment grounding conductor provides a low impedance path for fault current to flow back to the source. The size of the equipment grounding conductor is based on the size of the overcurrent protective device protecting the circuit. A larger equipment grounding conductor will have a lower impedance, which will allow more fault current to flow back to the source. This will cause the overcurrent protective device to trip more quickly. The length of the equipment grounding conductor also affects its impedance. A shorter equipment grounding conductor will have a lower impedance than a longer equipment grounding conductor. This is because the impedance of a conductor increases with its length. Therefore, it is important to keep the equipment grounding conductor as short as possible. The type of material used for the equipment grounding conductor also affects its impedance. Copper is a better conductor than aluminum, so a copper equipment grounding conductor will have a lower impedance than an aluminum equipment grounding conductor. However, copper is more expensive than aluminum, so aluminum is often used for equipment grounding conductors. In addition to the equipment grounding conductor, the grounding electrode conductor also provides a path for fault current to flow to the earth. The grounding electrode conductor connects the equipment grounding system to a grounding electrode, such as a ground rod or metal water pipe. The grounding electrode provides a connection to the earth, which helps to stabilize the voltage of the electrical system and provides a path for fault current to flow to the earth. The size of the grounding electrode conductor is based on the size of the service entrance conductors. A larger grounding electrode conductor will have a lower impedance, which will allow more fault current to flow to the earth. The type of material used for the grounding electrode conductor also affects its impedance. Copper is a better conductor than aluminum, so a copper grounding electrode conductor will have a lower impedance than an aluminum grounding electrode conductor. The depth of the grounding electrode also affects its impedance. A deeper grounding electrode will have a lower impedance than a shallower grounding electrode. This is because the deeper the grounding electrode, the more contact it has with the earth. The type of soil also affects the impedance of the grounding electrode. Moist soil is a better conductor than dry soil, so a grounding electrode in moist soil will have a lower impedance than a grounding electrode in dry soil. The NEC provides specific requirements for the installation of grounding electrodes. These requirements are designed to ensure that the grounding electrode provides a low impedance path for fault current to flow to the earth. In addition to the equipment grounding conductor and the grounding electrode conductor, metal enclosures of electrical equipment also provide a path for fault current to flow back to the source. The metal enclosures of electrical equipment must be bonded together to create a continuous electrical path. This bonding is typically accomplished by using bonding jumpers. Bonding jumpers are short lengths of wire that are used to connect the metal enclosures of electrical equipment together. The bonding jumpers must be sized according to the NEC. The bonding jumpers must be made of a conductive material such as copper or aluminum. The bonding jumpers must be securely connected to the metal enclosures of electrical equipment. The bonding jumpers must be protected from physical damage. The purpose of bonding the metal enclosures of electrical equipment together is to create a lower impedance path for fault current to flow back to the source. This helps to ensure that the overcurrent protective device will trip quickly in the event of a ground fault. In summary, a low impedance ground path is essential for electrical safety. The equipment grounding conductor, the grounding electrode conductor, and the metal enclosures of electrical equipment all contribute to creating a low impedance ground path. Adherence to the NEC and proper installation practices are essential for ensuring that the grounding system is effective. Remember, when in doubt, always consult with a qualified electrician. The information provided here is for general educational purposes only and should not be considered a substitute for professional electrical advice.